John Yeobin's late-night call that changed everything for Song Joong-ki. For a man who has lived under the lens of global attention, from record-breaking dramas to a very public divorce, Song Joong-ki has never truly lost his composure. Even amid storms, his charm stays intact, his words calculated, his smile consistent. But those close to him began noticing something different in late 2021. A softness. A shift. A kind of glow that hadn't been there before. What changed? It wasn't a scandal. It wasn't a script. According to multiple industry insiders and murmurs from the Vincenzo crew, it was a phone call. A late-night, unexpected one. And the woman on the other end of the line? John Yeobin. A Bond born in fiction. To understand the weight of that phone call, you have to go back to where it all began. Vincenzo. The 2021 hit K-drama saw Song Joong-ki and John Yeobin deliver crackling chemistry that had fans begging for more, even though the romantic element was subtle, even hesitant. The mafia consigliere and the sharp, grieving lawyer were the kind of characters who carried emotional damage, secrets, and ice-cold facades. But when they stood next to each other, something thawed. The scene sizzled, not just because of the writing, but because of the undeniable energy between the two leads. At the time, both actors played down the chemistry in interviews. "We're just trying to bring the script to life," Joong-ki said during a press event. Yeobin, always more reserved, echoed the sentiment. "We work well together professionally. I admire his commitment." But the crew had a different story. One production assistant later shared in an off-the-record remark, they were often in sync even when the cameras weren't rolling. Their banter didn't stop when cut was called. There was an ease between them. It was hard not to notice. Silence after Vincenzo. When Vincenzo ended, fans expected some kind of continuation, maybe a new project together or at least an appearance at a joint fan event. But nothing came. In fact, silence wrapped around their dynamic like a fog. Song Joong-ki threw himself into new projects, including Reborn Rich. John Yeobin, meanwhile, pivoted to independent cinema and Netflix dramas, carefully selecting quieter, more intimate roles. Their names rarely came up in the same sentence again. The speculation cooled. Until it didn't. The quiet before the call. 2022 was a year of transition for Song Joong-ki. His career had resurged post-Vincenzo, but personally, things remained under the radar until December, when he shocked the world with the announcement of his relationship with Katie Louise Saunders, followed swiftly by marriage and news of a baby. Fans were supportive, but many were stunned. It seemed sudden, and it raised a question that quietly lingered. Was this the happy ending he wanted, or the one he settled for? Insiders reveal that around this time, Joong-ki's demeanor had grown more introspective. A longtime makeup artist on his team noted. He smiled, yes. But it wasn't the same. There was a kind of searching in him, as though something had been left unfinished. It was in this emotional terrain that the phone call happened. The late-night call that sparked it all. According to an anonymous assistant director who worked with Joong-ki on a late 2022 project, the actor had been unusually quiet on set that week. He wasn't his usual self, they shared. He would sit alone after wrap. No phone, no distractions. Just lost in thought. On a cold night in November, long after the cameras had stopped and most of the crew had gone home, his phone rang. The name that lit up the screen? John Yeobin. "She never calls," Joong-ki reportedly told the staffer who happened to be nearby. "Not unless it's important." He stepped away from the lights and noise, out into the winter chill, and took the call. What was said in that conversation has never been officially disclosed, but those who saw him afterwards say he came back different. He looked lighter, one stylist revealed. Not euphoric, but at peace. Like something heavy had been lifted. Some believe the call was a simple gesture, checking in after months of distance, asking how he was adjusting to life post-announcement. Others believe it went deeper. There were unresolved feelings between them. "Anyone on the Vincenzo set could tell you that," said a former script coordinator. That call wasn't casual. It was emotional closure, or maybe the opposite. Maybe it was opening a door. What changed after the call? In the weeks that followed, those closest to Song Joong-ki noticed a distinct change in his behavior. 1. He began revisiting old projects. People close to his agency confirmed he rewatched scenes from Vincenzo, not for promotion, but personal reasons. He said it reminded him of a time he felt most free, a source revealed. 2. He asked not to be cast in romantic dramas. He said love stories weren't inspiring him anymore, a producer claimed. He wanted stories about healing, about redemption. 3. He reconnected with John Yeo-bin professionally. While nothing has been announced, rumors have circulated about the two being in quiet talks over a new film project, something completely different from Vincenzo, according to a Netflix Korea source. A reunion not built on fan service, but on closure. 4. He grew quieter on social media. No updates about his wife. No posts about his child. A stark contrast from his usual openness. He went inward, one fan account noted. And the only co-star he seemed to keep a subtle connection with was Yeo-bin. John Yeo-bin's side of the story. Yeo-bin, for her part, has remained largely silent throughout. She's known for her low-profile lifestyle, avoiding tabloids and interviews that drift too far into the personal. But she, too, changed. In early 2023, during a Q&A for her Netflix Project Glitch, she was asked, "What's one phone call you'll never forget?" She smiled for a beat too long before answering. "It was late. It was cold. I just had to call someone I hadn't spoken to in a long time. Sometimes silence becomes too loud." She didn't name him. She didn't need to. A love that was never meant to be? Fans have long speculated that something blossomed between Song Joong-ki and John Yeo-bin that neither dared name aloud. Professionalism? Timing? Fear? Perhaps all three. But the energy between them hasn't died. It simply went underground. Now, after that late-night phone call, a question hangs in the air like an unsent letter. Did they finally say what needed to be said? Or did they choose to leave their story right where the world fell in love with it, between the cracks of fiction and reality? What comes next? Sources suggest Song Joong-ki and John Yeo-bin may appear in the same project again by late 2025, though nothing has been confirmed. One Netflix insider said, "They both want to work together again, but only if the script demands it. Nothing forced. Nothing gimmicky." And maybe that's the lesson from all this. Not every love story needs a public declaration. Some just need one moment, one call in the quiet of night to remind someone of what they meant and still mean. Final thought. In the world of celebrity, where headlines chase scandal and fans demand clarity, Song Joong-ki and John Yeo-bin remain beautifully unreadable. Perhaps that's what makes their connections so haunting. It never needed validation. It only needed that one call. And for those who were listening closely, that call echoed louder than any confession ever could. The echo that refused to fade. For weeks after that night, Song Joong-ki carried the weight of the call in his silence. Friends say he stopped giving polished interviews. When asked about his marriage or his child, he smiled politely but offered little. Not in denial. Not in regret. Just measured. He became more careful with his words, one close source noted. It was like he was trying not to betray something he was still figuring out. What many don't realize is that the night of that call marked the beginning of quiet changes behind the scenes. Meetings that didn't make the press, projects that were paused, and yes, private interactions between him and John Yeo-bin that have yet to be confirmed publicly but are whispered about in industry circles. The secret meeting in Gangnam. One such whisper emerged in early February 2024. A source affiliated with a luxury media house in Seoul claimed that Joong-ki and Yeo-bin were spotted entering a private dining lounge in Gangnam late one evening. No cameras. No managers. Just the two of them. They didn't look like a couple trying to hide, said a staff member at the venue. They looked like two people who hadn't seen each other in a long time, trying to catch up on everything that had been left unsaid. There was no hand-holding. No dramatic gestures. Just eye contact that seemed to stretch longer than necessary. One witness noted, he watched her speak like someone listening for the first time, and she didn't flinch under his gaze. That dinner lasted almost 3 hours. After that, they left separately, him into a waiting van, her into a black sedan. But as one witness put it, you could feel it. Whatever existed between them hadn't ended. It had only been waiting. John Yeo Bin's unspoken grief. What's rarely talked about is John Yeo Bin's quiet heartbreak over the past 2 years. While the spotlight was on Jung Ki's whirlwind romance and fatherhood, Yeo Bin focused on her craft, burying herself in character work. But one role, her indie film Where the Light Drowns, reportedly pulled something deeply personal out of her. In a rare, candid interview, she said, "This role reminded me that you can love someone in silence. That some bonds are not meant to be fulfilled in the way people expect. And yet, they still change you completely." The interviewer didn't press, but fans drew their own conclusions. The film storyline, centered on two people who meet once, part ways, and spend a decade wondering what could have been, felt eerily close to reality. Her eyes shimmered when she spoke of it. "Some people leave," she said, "but not all departures are endings." The reopened script. And now, in a twist no one predicted, the script for a new K-drama titled Winter's Letter has reportedly landed on both their desks. Industry insiders say it's a slow-burn romance about two people who once shared something fleeting and meet again, years later, after building separate lives. The female lead is written as a woman with a quiet fire, the male lead as a man who smiles like he's forgotten how to feel. Producers claim the characters weren't written for them, but everyone reading the script can't help but see their faces. So far, neither actor has signed on officially, but the project has been placed on hold, awaiting 2 specific actors' schedules, according to an internal document leaked from the production house. The drama, if confirmed, is already being called a love letter to the almosts of life. And fans? They're waiting, watching, hoping. Fans still holding on. Despite